it's up and running.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just who even where were we again?
Killing people.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt I saw this video and it just seemed like it scared me a lot. You know, it just felt like this is a really big deal, and it's not just I don't know, like just people are suffering. You know, it's also that like this can elevate into something so much bigger.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want me to show you the video?
Um, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I probably won't watch the whole thing,
Yeah.
but
One sec. Brandon, if you want, you can skip to 5 minutes and 10 seconds. That's when he starts talking about Syria.
mm. Did you? Oh, you. Oh shit! I didn't even see that you sent it. Lol.
It's
Oh
late
no,
night.
I just looked through the video to just find
War
the part.
in the West is unaffordable. It is unconscionable. And it will end not just us, but everything and everyone. You say, oh, well, you know, but it's just Syria. Well, there are people in Syria, of course, who wish to live. There are people in Syria who wish to be free. Syria is one of the last secular democracies, for want of a better word, in the secular governments, I suppose, in the Middle East. The ruler is a Christian. Just as Saddam Hussein rule was secular, just as Gaddafi's rule was somewhat secular, certainly compared to places like Iran, Turkey. But it never stays there, you understand? It never stays. The war is uncontainable. We live in a world where war is no longer translatable into myth, you understand? This has not been since Vietnam has war been translatable into myth. So there was the charge of the Light Brigade, and it gets transformed into a stirring poem that gives young men some sort of idea or some sort of sense that war, the First World War that everyone signed up for, hoping it was not going to be over by Christmas so they would not taste the bloody adventure of their generation, that we had become so distant from war that we thought of it as glory, we thought of it as paintings come to life, we thought of it, as one guy said. In the First World War, he wrote very bitterly, and he said, I thought war was going to be me riding up a hill on a white horse with a sword, and that I have a fighting chance. That's not what war is. He said, war is some jerk 20 miles away pushing a button and blowing you into nothing, into giblets for the rats to feast on, to the point where even the likelihood of people finding your body can be quite small. War was one thing back in the day. War was a brutal and expensive hobby for the murderous classes, but it was contained. A war in the Middle Ages could not end the world. It could not end a civilization. But now, war cannot be contained to myth, you understand. And we are a tribal species. It means if you go around blowing up people in Syria, that radiates throughout the Middle Eastern world, that radiates throughout the Muslim world, and the social media and the incredible sharing power of the internet means that bloody, horrendous images are placed into the hearts and minds of people who view the Syrians as their own. The impact on Syria sends 1,000 slivers into the hearts and minds of millions, hundreds of millions of people around the world. And they exist in a world where the carcasses of those they view as on their team flow back and forth across the internet. And most people in the West don't see it. They don't see what gets shared. They don't follow what gets shared. But war is not what it was. War is live. War cannot be filtered. War cannot be turned into a pastel painting of a guy on a horse riding up a hill with a sword in his hand. War can no longer be mythologized. War is the brutal, individualistic disassembling of human beings who have a right to survive. And in the past, there were songs. It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. There was songs and faded landscape and men walking slowly and sadly and shuffling off into the fog of war as if they dissolved into mist, which they did, but brutally, a red mist, a blood spray through the air, sometimes never to land. Should it be windy, you are carried to the mountaintop. War is visceral. War is in your face. War is live. And because it cannot be mythologized, it motivates in a way that we can't even really understand. In the West, in America, because America is so often the aggressor, war is muted. And you may see the pictures of the men like yearbook photos. Not the picture of their wounds, not the pictures of their innards, not the pictures of eye stalks hanging down cheeks, not the pictures of cratered faces, not the pictures of split limbs, not the pictures of men staggering into a shallow grave holding their own goddamn intestines. You don't see that. You see it sanitized. You see it cleaned up. You see it airbrushed. You see men in their prime, not when they have become meat. But that's not what the rest of the world sees. You understand? Sees what it is. They see the women cradling the severed heads of their children. They see the children of Fallujah genetically destroyed through horrifying weapons. They see shattered, splayed bodies. They see a wedding party blown into horrifying stucco Picasso wall paintings of death. They see what it is as if you're there, and we see the sentimental view of what it looks like in sadness, and they see what it viscerally feels like in horror and rage. War cannot be contained within the minds of propagandists anymore. War is visceral. War is in your face forever. War is shareable like that. Having people who took movies and people who took photographs in Vietnam was one of the things that ended the resolve of the war. War has become increasingly brutal because in the Second World War, for instance, only a minority of American soldiers ever even fired their weapons. A lot of people ran and hid. It is not in our nature. It is not in the nature of most human beings to stand in front of another human being, to aim down a sight, to pull the trigger and to dissolve their memories into red mist. It is not in the nature of a human being to want to blow someone's head off and watch their arterial spurting, falling torso plummet into the mud and twitch. It is not in our nature. There is a small minority of people, for want of a better word, who love it, who live for it, and a day where you don't get to slaughter someone, preferably with your bare hands, is a day that's barely worth getting out of bed for. But that is a very small minority of people. And I've always been asked, what do we do with these people in a free society? I'm not exactly sure, but I've got a good place to start. How about we stop giving them armies? Is that a place? How about we stop giving them weapons of mass destruction, fiat currency to fund their bloodlust and fuel their human disassembly lines? How about we just stop giving them planet-ending weaponry? It's just a thought, just a possibility. It is not in human beings' nature to wish to slaughter each other. It is almost universally true. I have traveled very many places in the world. Just about everyone I meet is quite nice. I'm quite nice, but just about everyone I meet is quite nice and friendly and positive. Especially, I mean, you're a parent, you're having fun with your kids. People are nice. And in the past, it was hard. Like when the knights were trained, then they fought. The peasants didn't fight so much because they were just kind of conscripted or enlisted and drafted, and they had to fight. And then in the Second World War, the majority of soldiers did not fire their weapons, did not engage in combat. And the army recognized this as a huge problem and began to do the savage kind of basic training that you see depicted in movies like Full Metal Jacket. That kind of savage training occurred because the army was falling apart, because the level of brutality and the length of brutality and the youth of the soldiers, particularly in Vietnam, was unsustainable. So they knew they had to dehumanize people to the point where they're willing to kill in higher numbers than occurred in World War II. Well, why was the post-World War II era, the baby boomer era, different from the post-Vietnam era? Because most of the soldiers who came home had not killed anyone. It's Lord of the Flies, right? The writer says, A spear is a stick sharpened at both ends. You put it in someone else, it goes through you. War cannot be contained. It breaks out of the frame. And if you've ever seen true violence up close, I remember being a little boy in England, hearing a horrible crunching, ripping, metallic sound, running up to the street near the flats where I lived, and they were pulling a woman from a car wreck. The car had flipped. They were pulling a woman out, and she was shredded. And I was distant, and it's befogged by memory. But if you've ever seen true violence up close, it is visceral. You understand your body and your brain reacts like you're there. Like you're there. Our bodies haven't figured out screens yet. The rest of the world sees. They haven't figured out that they see the women cradling the severed heads of their children. They see the children of Fallujah genetically destroyed through horrifying weapons. They see shattered. Stand. The rest of the world sees what it is. Stand. The rest of the world sees what it is. They see the women cradling the severed heads of their children. They see the children of Fallujah genetically destroyed through horrifying weapons. They see shattered, splayed bodies. They see a wedding party blown into horrifying stucco Picasso wall paintings of death. They see what it is as if you're there, and we see the sentimental view of what it looks like in sadness, and they see what it viscerally feels like in horror and rage. War cannot be contained within the minds of propagandists anymore. War is visceral. War is in your face forever. War is shareable like that. Having
Wait, Brandon,
people who took movies and people who took photographs in Vietnam was one of the things that...
I think this stream's repeating itself. It went back a bit. Like the video.
Yeah, it did. I finally figured out how to get it to show the video, because I wanted to show the video, but it just...
Yeah, I was watching the stream, so...
Yeah, you were watching the stream, but then but all you did was look at us and you heard it instead of watching the video as well, because I don't want it to just play in the background or something.
I hope this doesn't get like a copyright thing.
I doubt it, but
yeah, I don't know. I think that's enough for right now. Yeah. What did you think?
I mean, my thing is, like, there's no good answer and there's no bad answer. Obviously, killing innocent people who want to live and want to have a good life is awful, and you don't want to do that. Obviously, nobody wants these kind of things to happen, you know. But like, you know, back in the days, you know, it was either conquer or be conquered, you know. There was and sure, it was horrible and awful, but I mean, look at what became, you know, after all of that. You know, the bad empires fell, the good empires rose. You know what I mean? And now there's so much. We've come to having it be so precious for all these, for every life, and it is, but like when the whole Russia and Ukraine thing, you know, I mean, 400 years ago, oh well, Like, sorry, Ukraine,
I mean,
but you
it's
know, that's how it was back then. And
mhm,
what happened now is that since the United States is the major power, and you know, people look to it to solve the issues, you know, and it's like, well,
yeah,
it's not our country. Sure,
mhm,
it's like people asked us to do it before, and we did it because I mean, who else is going to do it? And then we
yeah,
saw that it was not the right thing to do,
mhm,
but we can't keep going back and fixing all the things because it's just going to get worse again.
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
and
yeah,
it's
I
just
think
it's tough
I think
to.
it's like why it's like there are certain scenarios that like tempt me, but it seems like it should be a scenario where it's like you worry about your own country and your own borders, and you don't say, well, let's mess around in the Middle East. Let's, try and destroy this corrupt regime and make things worse. It's like a Jenga tower. It's like you're slowly trying to take little pieces out, except you're using like a mallet and like a rock chisel, and you're bashing the pieces out. It's like, you're trying to make it better. You're going to make it a lot worse. It's
Hmm.
like, so I don't know if it's like, he mentions it later on in the video. He says that, it's like, if Israel wants to start a war, then that's Israel's business. If Saudi Arabia wants to start a war, that's Saudi Arabia's business. Why should America get involved?
Yeah, yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know.
and see, and that's the thing. That's what I think we should just allow. Like it's that's what it is
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. That's how it. You know, everybody, United Nations is a joke. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, especially all the things on like Africa and what's
Yeah.
going down in there. I mean, they don't do anything. Sure, they kind of help the people, but it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a big joke anyway. No matter what, you kind of
Yeah.
see. Obviously, they still do good things, but
I
it's
I
so
heard a
corrupt. You know.
yeah. I heard a funny line. It was how did it go again? It was the United Nations laws are how does it, sorry, I just need a sec.
No, you're fine.
United Nations laws are laws that bad men are not willing to obey and good men are not willing to enforce.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that seems like
yeah. I mean, that's
they're just like, oh, these are suggestions of what would be an idealized society. It's like, well, good, but who's going to make that happen? No one. I don't know. But he goes on later in the video where he's talking about how essentially this decision to either stay in Syria, because of the alleged what was it? Sorry, the alleged chemical attacks, or they leave. And it's like it's all in the hands of one man. That's the thing. It's like the entire world ending should never be in the hands of one person, and that's what is somewhat very upsetting about the U.S. president. It's like you don't talk to Congress about it. You don't say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or it's just if in some cases it's like, oh, they killed U.S. troops, and because we killed Russian troops, it's like, well, okay, I'll advance with a little more force. Fire rockets at them. Oh, they're firing
yeah,
rockets to us. Well, then it's goes up to the larger weapons until you finally get up to pointing nukes at each other. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, the world. It seems like has come so far. It's like the civilization has like developed for thousands, tens of thousands of years, and for what? Just for it to end now? Just for everyone to die meaninglessly over some, you know, like it just, our ancestors fought and died for what? For us to all just perish in the just such a foolish way, for the entire world to perish. You know, it's he talks about later on in the video how it's like, even with something like Pompeii, you know, there's the ancient city that was covered with ash. You know, it's like you could still go and find like remnants of them. You can see like the shapes and what they were doing. Like these people were shopping, or these people were having sex or something like that.
Yeah.
But with a nuclear explosion, there will be nothing left of us. It's just a shadow cast on the wall. It's like no one will know whether you are like just a plant or an actual human being, if there's even anyone around to check afterwards, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pretty much exact. I mean, that's the thing.
I don't know. Do you get why this has gotten me a little spooked?
Yeah, I mean, I and see, that's the other thing. Something like this, you know, I mean, I get why he brought it in that way and conveyed it in that type of message, but you just end up making more issues than really solving it. Yes, you're grabbing the attention, and now you're getting people to listen, but you're also, obviously I didn't watch the whole part of the video, but you know, it's like it just felt like he was blaming everything, you know, on something and saying all these negative and bad things about what happened. But I mean, I'm telling you, I mean, it was like a lesser of two evils, essentially, you know? And yeah, it sucks, and some of it was unnecessary, but then again, it's like, you don't know. You can't take a chance. If you're told that, hey, if we do this, 5 innocent people may die, you know, but we might kill 2 of these people that are planning to do something even worse that, you know, no one else in the public knows about, and you know, it's like, you either do this or 100 people are gonna die, and you know, the city is gonna be attacked, or you know, they're going to this military base and attack them, or they're setting up these IEDs, you know. And I felt like, yeah, sure, it sucks for these countries and stuff, but you know, it's all secretive. You don't know what they were gonna do, you know. If you told the American people, oh, we didn't bomb these 5 innocent people from this Iranian country, and they planned and attacked our U.S. troops, I know who's gonna be fucking pissed, you know. And what about those families that were affected by that situation, and now that they lost their loved ones, and now they're feeling the hurt and the pain, you know, they didn't want to be over there, and our country didn't really want to send them, but everyone's looking to the United States for the answers, but they're like, yo, fuck off, motherfuckers, leave us alone at this point.
Yeah, and he talks about later on in the video, how we're not only, you know, doing horrible things to these people, but then we're also saying, and come to our country now.
Yeah.
You know, we have very angry people who, you know, it's like America is, if you took a poll of every country in the world, not based on population, but based on just each country gets a vote, America is the most hated country in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and we do horrible shit to other countries. I mean, I say we, I mean, Canada is basically involved. It's like,
well, yeah,
shoehorned in as like, you know, it's like, you're linked to us at the hip, literally and figuratively. It's,
essentially.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just, it seems like, you know, we bring these people here, you know, obviously they'd hate our society because our society is destroying their society. So it's like what they're doing, you know, when they come here is terrible. And yet it's like, would I have done something different if I was in their position? You know, if the country that you just moved to is responsible for destroying your country, is responsible for causing your family suffering, I wouldn't have good views of the country or the people living in it, you know?
Damn
And
straight, yeah.
it's completely understandable, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, and see, and that's the thing, that's, yeah, it's, I mean, and these countries are so different too. It's not like, you know, it's not another United States, or it's not another Canada or France or Germany, or, you know, even a Russia or something. It is almost a it's considered a third world country. I'm correct, yeah.
Yes, it's a
Yeah.
war-torn
It's
country that's destroyed.
the
It's
people,
absolutely.
you know, so it's not, and it's horrible to say something like that, but you know, it's not that it's less important, but
Mm-hmm.
it has less of a major impact on the rest of the world, if you want to say. I mean, because it's not, sure, there's the huge oil
Mm-hmm.
conundrum that's going on there, but boy,
Yeah.
British had it for a very long time until they lost it because they were, you know, fucking around everywhere else in the country. I mean, in the
Mm-hmm.
world. But you know, if the major powers really wanted to, they could go in there, kill every single person that ever lived there, and control the oil. I mean,
Yeah.
that could really happen, and it would be horrible and awful. But I mean, the I think the toughest part about what he was saying is, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's awful what is happening to these people, and it
Yeah.
sucks. But it's like, well, what would you have them do? You know,
Who's them?
the whole everything is about details and circumstances in those type of
Mm-hmm.
decisions. You know,
Well,
it,
he presents like a solution. It's that just pull back, don't engage into another war, and it's like, you know, America's already at war right now. It's just don't engage into another needless war in the Middle East. You know, Trump said back in, like, what was it, 2014, that there was no reason to get in a war with Syria, and it's like that it would only cause America suffering.
yeah,
And yet now that he's president, it's like he completely changes his mind. You know, it happened with like Obama too. You know, it's like Obama's talking about like this anti-war. You know, it's like, how bad is war? You know, it's, you know, we should end it. We should end these wars. Obama gets into president, gets the nomination, and you know, he becomes president, and he gets the Nobel Peace Prize, and he, as a president, was at war longer than any other president in U.S. history.
yeah.
And he gets the Nobel Peace Prize. That is, if that's not irony, I don't know what is. It's like, I don't know. It's just,
yeah,
and it's not only that. It's like there was tons of people protesting. You know, Bush and Bush, what he did was terrible. I'm not defending that, but there were many people protesting how bad, you know, the war he started in Afghanistan was. So many anti-war people on the left. Obama gets in, and they vanish. Where did they go?
yeah.
You know, where did these protesters go? It's like, well, I mean, were they really against the war, or were they just against a political opinion? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I should. Sorry, go ahead.
no. I mean, and again, it makes sense, and that's what you know, what you really want to believe. Um, but I mean, it's so much bigger than like you and I, or even that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
he can say all he wants, you know, or a president can say all he wants, but if there's a bunch of factors that determine what needs to happen, I mean, it's gonna happen. There's
Mm-hmm.
no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's gonna take effect, and it's gonna really matter um,
Yeah.
later on. And I think if if people really wanted to, you know, make a difference with it, it just wouldn't happen. I mean, the
Yeah.
reason why, you know, we just don't go in there and take over everything like we really probably could have
Hmm.
or should have is because there's factors
Well, the
from
problem
stopping
is,
us, you know?
let's say, America went in there and overthrew the Assad government and just took all the oil. What do you think would happen next?
Well, yeah, all the other countries would be fucking furious. They're like, you
Well,
know,
one of the main allies of Assad is Russia. So, Russia had a vested interest in the Assad government succeeding. And America had a vested interest in having, what were they called again? I think the Chads. I'm not sure. They were people who lived up to the north of Syria and into Turkey, who were, these very secular, good people. But they weren't just supporting them, they were also supporting other rebels in the area who were not good people. They are essentially terrorists. But the only reason that America supported them and sent them weapons was because they were against the Assad government. And America wanted to see the Assad government overthrown. And I forgot where I was going with this. Oh yeah, that's right. So I mean, if America went in and took it over, what would Russia think about that? That's qualifying for war because you're taking down an ally, and the only reason that they were able to sort of have this proxy war in Syria was because of ISIS. It's like that's a common enemy that both of them hate, and it benefits neither of them. So we can use this as an excuse to have this proxy war, and it's just like it's not just the Middle East. You understand? It's
almost the whole world.
I don't know. It's just it could elevate to nuclear war, and that's what gets me jumpy.
That's the thing. I don't really see that happening. I mean, it's too. I mean, the whole reason why most of our nukes were taken away and diminished, and disassembled. I mean, you can go on YouTube and it's funny. There's a bunch of videos of people like recording the truck driving past their rink-a-dink town or something stupid,
Yeah.
And we got rid of it because we made an agreement, that, and it's in best interest of both countries to not use them, because there's nothing to gain from it. Sure, we're dead, but you are too.
Yeah.
And I think the cool thing about history, so like when you look back at the Cold War and everything that happened, if you were a person living in that time, you didn't know about any of that stuff. You heard the bad things about Russia or what was going on here, but all the backstory, the the space race people kind of knew about, but not the whole big details. Everyone thought everyone was a Russian spy or something silly, But looking back at it historically and actually getting a whole lot more evidence, about like Cuba or Vietnam and how those played in the whole Cold War aspect. It's really interesting because the same things are kind of happening now, and we're using other countries as a means to sort of fight each other, but not in the same sense as the Cold War. But people, we don't know, because we won't know until the next history lesson rolls around and we find more things out.
If there even will be, though, is the thing. I mean, like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, do you know how close the entire world came to destruction then?
I mean,
it came down to, it was on like a Russian submarine, a nuclear submarine.
Yeah.
Normally it's just two officers that decide whether to launch the missiles or not. and they got a false message that America had launched all the missiles had launched a missile towards the SSR, and so both of them said yes. And if it was just them two on the boat, then they would have launched it, and that would have been the end of the world. But there was another official on the boat, and he was like a high-up government official, and he decided, let's not fire this missile. And like, because of that, and they needed a complete consensus to fire, and because he decided either just, for just dumb luck, or the fact that he knew something they didn't know, or he just had a hunch, a gut feeling, whatever, he saved the entire world. That one, Russian officer, because of his actions, we wouldn't be talking right now if he said, yes, fire. It would, that the entire world, it's like, that was pretty damn close. The entire world hung in the balance at that one point, and it just seems like escalating into war again, it can't be done anymore. You really cannot have a war anymore. World War III will be the end, it seems like. And, only maybe a few people will survive in deep bunkers, but the entire world will essentially, civilization as we know it will be gone if it happens,
Yeah, I think you kind of have to look at it from different viewpoints for different people. So if you were a religious person, and you believed in Christianity, you would say, okay, well, then that's the time of rapture, and we're, going to heaven, and, and there's a couple things in Revelations that kind of are coming around now, but I mean, that's always kind of happened throughout the history. This happened. Oh my God.
It's like there will be war and destruction.
Yeah.
There will be violence. It's so vague. It could apply to any time period.
But see, man, I wish there was I forget what it was, man. I think it's like a statue, right? Mm-hmm. In the Bible. I very vaguely remember any of this, but there were like a bunch of parts to that statue, right? And or it was some kind of rocks or something. I don't know. I don't remember, but I'll have to look it up eventually, and I'll link it to you or something. But they were basically like different empires that had risen and fallen, and at the end there were like 2 left or something like that. There were like a few left, and one of them was figured to be the Roman Empire, the British Empire, and then that one basically eventually fell. I mean, obviously there's still Great Britain, but it's definitely not what it used to be. And then as of right now, it's like not really Russia, but sort of Russia, China, and the United States. And man, I forget. It was like a prophecy or something, and about like the different parts of this statue and how and when you read it, it makes you really think that this, like, whenever these countries do go down is when it would happen. If you do believe in all that, or
I don't know, because the problem is that if we read into the tea leaves that yes, this is the time it's going to happen from this prophecy, well, there's a lot of problems with that. Like, say it doesn't happen. Let's say America falls, but then it doesn't end in a nuclear war, but America just falls due to political reasons, and another power rises. Would that prophecy then be proven wrong by that?
Yeah.
It would be?
No, I mean...
Oh, okay, wait. So, if it's not proven wrong, then what that means is it's so vague. It could apply to, it could have applied to England. It could apply to the next kingdom. It could apply to, 30 empires down the road, and the prophecy still would seemingly be correct. It's like,
no.
This is one of the main problems with prophecies. It's either they're so vague that they're not useful, or they're so particular that they actually are self-defeating. Because think of it like this. Let's say I have a prophecy that tomorrow at, let's say, 4:27 p.m. tomorrow, you are going to walk outside your house and you're going to walk onto the street, cross the road, and you're going to get hit by an ice cream truck. This is going to happen to you, Brandon, all right?
Yeah.
Well, where are you going to be tomorrow at, let's say, and you obviously assume I'm lying or just making this up, but let's say you really believe that this is going to happen to you. Where are you going to be at tomorrow at 12:40, I forget the number, is it 47 p.m.?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I wouldn't be anywhere near an ice cream truck would hit me,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you might look out the window to see if an ice cream truck goes by, but you're not going to be outside. So if the prophecy is particular enough and people believe it's going to happen, well, I mean, then it won't happen. Because, people say, well, let's just stop it by happening by doing preventive measures. So because of that, if it's vague enough that it could apply to anything, then it has no use, essentially.
Yeah, I think, but the thing that I was talking about, it was like, I'll have to ask my mom about it because she was the one that was talking to me about it, and
yeah,
it was like the parts of the statue that were, some of them were already fallen off, and some of them were left. There were only a certain few amount of rocks left, and
is this statue still around today?
No, it was a figurative statue. It was like a a vision given to I forget who the prophet was, but for Revelations, or maybe not Revelations, but something about it. But that, there were empire, and each stone or part of the statue was a represented an empire, and there were only 5 or 6 left or something, and some of them had already fallen, and and stuff like that. And so obviously people were doing more research. Okay, well, this empire has risen and fallen, definitive proof of an empire existing and then falling, and and sure, something like that, you could just guess, well, it's eventually, you could say, oh, empires are going to rise and fall all the time, you know. Same with the whole Mayan calendar, when everybody thought the world was going to end, I mean, and it didn't. And then
I mean, I mean, that was again, that's a prophecy where it's it's not saying that humanity will end it. It's saying, the Mayan gods will destroy the planet at, the year 2012, which keep in mind, this wasn't even based around the Mayan religion at all. It was just, essentially for the Mayans, it was just the solstice, essentially, when it was the equilibrium or something like that. And, also they just didn't have enough stone to continue their calendar. That's all it was. They just didn't have enough stone to make their calendar go any further, So it was just Hollywood shit up, But I mean, I don't know. It's let's say, how many stones are left on the statue. Let's say there was 5 that haven't fallen yet, and then 4 great empires fall, and then there's the last empire.
Yeah.
If that empire falls and the end of society comes, does that then disprove the theory?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, because you don't know, and it's really all left up to what you believe. I mean, eventually you could just be sitting there, you know, thinking and talking, you know, if this stuff does go down and nukes come around, you know, and I believe in Christianity, what I'm going to say is, well, then I'll go up into heaven and, you know, the rapture will occur and blah, blah, blah. Or a person who is, you know, not religious is like, well, then I'll be nuked to death and nothing will exist anymore. Or, you know, if I'm a Muslim, then I don't know what they believe when they go and die or whatever. Or let's say if I'm Mormon, you know, then I go up to my fucking planet and I live with my planet god. You know, not to bash on them, but I don't believe there's a planet that you go to.
I mean,
after you die, that God is waiting for you on.
Yeah, I mean, they have some interesting ideas. Like, I think one thing I can say that's good about the Mormons, one thing, okay, is that the fact that they decided that Jesus and Satan were brothers, I can kind of respect, like, that, the idea of it, because it's like, you know, it's the hostile brothers that runs through the Bible. You know, it starts with, like, Cain and Abel, then Esau and Jacob, and, you know, it continues throughout the Bible, the hostile brothers archetype, essentially.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just makes sense that Satan and Jesus would be the ultimate hostile brothers, you know?
Not really, but, I mean, there's... Most of Christianity theology would suggest that, obviously, the devil is Lucifer, who is an angel of God who fell, and then Jesus is actually... a reincarnation, I guess you could say, of God. So then technically it wouldn't. What I do, because I went to a Mormon church once, and, you know, it was actually really funny because the friend that I went with, he had already passed a certain part of whatever they do.
Can I, real quick, can I just mention that it's kind of just ironic that you're wearing a blue shirt, I'm wearing a green shirt.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, here I got my green cape too.
I got my Red Lobster shirt on.
Ooh,
they gave it to us for an anniversary to wear, and it's actually really fucking comfortable. Like, I wish I could get to wear it at work, but you're not allowed to. But no, that's funny. That is hella funny. But no, so
sorry, anyways.
No, you're fine. So how their like, I guess, church day would go is you would sing hymns, you know, boring as hell. I love their meaning and their depth behind it, you know, and what they stand for, but I think it's boring as hell. I mean, sure, if that's your way to worship, go for it, but I mean, you can get more from a good song, I guess you could say, at least from my standpoint. But and then they would read from the Book of Mormon, and then relate it to their life or something. You know, some random person in the church would just come up and talk about it and read something from the Book of Mormon. And then you would be split into groups. So your generic people would just go in their group. If you had people that wanted to be, you know, part of the church, then they would go into one group. So your, like, teenagers and kids and stuff would go to that one group. If you were selected for, you know, to eventually be a fucking door-to-door guy and then progress on through, then you would go to a different one. Well, my friend, he was going to be a door-to-door guy eventually, because that's what you have to do first. You have to do your missions, and then you go to do whatever it's called upon you afterwards. And so he went with the main pastor and a couple other of the people, a couple other people that were going to talk about it, and they were, you know, I was like, okay, where do I go? You know, I'm not really a part of any of this. And the pastor was like, no, you can just come with us, you know, screw.
Wait, just come with you on the walks? And
yeah, like come join in our classroom, which was supposed to be like, you know, you would I think it was like you had to be like 5 years of this one class before you did this class or something.
Damn, Brandon, you're that charming that you managed to fool them.
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah. So, but you know, so I went into the class, and it was actually, you know, they would ask questions. You know, okay, like what other names of Jesus would you have? You know, or what would you say something about Jesus? And I love their love and dedication to Jesus, you know, but it overrules the rest of God, you know what I mean? Because their whole Book of Mormon is basically about Jesus, you know, and the prophet. Joseph. Well, yeah, and Joseph. But
you see, that's the thing is they have it's like a holy trinity of like Father, Son, and Spirit.
Yeah, but there is
it's Father, Son, and Joseph Smith.
Yeah,
it's what it is. They don't.
Yeah. So, but it was really cool because, you know, they were asking questions and like, what would you call Jesus? Like other words for him that aren't in this Bible or whatever. And I, you know, or what were words that you would describe him and stuff. So, you know, I would offer mine, and you know, and they were like, yeah, that's a really good one, you know, and I'm like, I'm not even Mormon, I'm getting this shit right, you know. But
Brandon, the Sunday school questions are easy. All you have to do is say, Jesus.
Yeah, essentially that's kind of what it was. But you know, it was really cool to see that side and what they kind of were talking about, because these weren't like extremist people, you know, like some of them can be, you know, they were just kind of, I guess what you would say like non-denominational Mormons, where they didn't go too crazy into like all of it, and they weren't like, but they still kind of, I guess you would say regular Mormons. I don't know how you would put it, but it was
how
really.
I would put it. I don't even know.
Like, yeah, that's the thing. You'd have to know more of the. Yeah, you'd have to know more of the religion to really understand it. But it was really cool to see another part of a religion that basically had the same beliefs as you, but were completely different at the same time. You know.
Yeah, I mean.
Because I said one thing and they were just like, what the fuck? I was
what
like,
did you say?
It was something about God and how, you know, he was the main, you know, factor, you know, whatever, that they were all the same, but because they kind of believe that Jesus was more like a prophet as well, in a sense, but they still believe that he was the Son of God, so it was really weird.
Yeah, they believe some strange things, like you know how like in the story of like how like God, like Mary is like a virgin in like the Christian faith.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that in the Mormon faith. It's that God actually had, you know, I don't know if it was intercourse with Mary, but you know, he came down and actually like impregnated Mary himself. It's like, oh, okay, that changes the story a little.
Yeah, just make it more like Zeus, fucking old school theology and shit.
Yeah, chucking that lightning bolt in it. I can't make a sexual fun with Zeus's lightning bolts.
He was striking up the alley.
Ooh, yeah, he had those magic spark fingers, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But no, but see, and so like something my uncle did, like he kind of fell out of the church when he was younger, and so what he did is he literally went to every single religion and spent time in it, you know, understanding kind of what they believed in, what they did, and he like literally, like Judaism, Islam. He did all of it, and then he eventually came back to Christianity. He's like, this is what I believe, you know. and
yeah,
he carried on through it. And I think that's really cool because, you know, you can't, well, you can just say, well, this is what I believe, fuck you, but it makes it
put some
like emphasis on what you believe and some, I guess, factual evidence, I guess you could say, or, you know, some backing to why you believe it, you know, because to say, oh, you're wrong about something but have no clue what you're talking about is kind of stupid, you know.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean it is kind of interesting. Well, what do you think of like classes in university of like comparative religion?
I mean, I think so. Like Nina, in one of her classes, she had to read a book that was written by an Islamic person, you know, and that person kind of made fun of Christianity in some parts, but, you know, and she got frustrated with it, and I was like, well, no, you can't read it from a point of view of a Christian and be like, oh, they're making fun of what I believe, you know. I'm saying you have to read it, you know, I forget what the word is,
from a secular perspective.
yeah. So, you know, just to get an understanding of what there is, you can't read it as if, okay, I'm a Christian, you know, this is what I believe. I'm now reading a book from an Islamic person, and now this offends me. No, that's not the point of your class. Your point of your class is to educate you about, you know, other things in the world, you know. And my mom kind of told her that as well, because, you know, she had a tough time with some of her classes, especially since she went to Liberty University, which is, you know, a Christian university. And some of the classes they had were kind of weird, you know, and I just told her, I was like, you know, it's cool to really open up and talk about it, so like, and really get a whole comprehensive history and understanding of everything else to more solidify your own beliefs, you know. And I think because I've watched a couple like speakings of from like, so I think, what was it, a Jewish person spoke at in a Christian study like class, you know, and I was like, that's cool, you know. I mean, you're not there to convert people, but you're there to educate people about your own religion and your own perspectives, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's pretty interesting. I mean, there's like there is a problem with this kind of thinking though, and it goes into the idea of like moral relativism, like, you know, all religions are equal, you know, and like there's a problem with that, and it's that, just picture, let's say all religions are wrong except for Christianity and Islam, okay? What are you doing? You're doing a little dance?
Yeah, I'm just trying to like mess with this streamy thing, but go ahead.
So yeah, say there's Christianity and Islam. Okay, those are the only possible religions that can be true. All others, you know, we'll just assume for this example are false. Okay. They cannot both be true. Okay, and here's why. One of the what's the fundamental belief in Christianity? Like
that,
regardless of anything else, like the bare minimum.
The bare minimum is that you believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and that God sent His Son to die for your sins, and if you believe in Him, then you'll go to heaven.
And you have to repent for your sins.
Well, yeah, but same thing. But
okay, yeah, okay. So, well, I'll just take the part that's relevant. Okay, so you have to believe that Jesus Christ is God. Okay. Compare that to Islam, where there's a text that clearly says that if you believe that, you know, Jesus was a very good prophet and we should respect him, you know, blessed be his name, but if you think that if you think he is a god, then you will burn for an eternity in hell.
Yep.
So you can't, it's not possible to have both these beliefs, you know. You can't say, well, both are true, because, you know, they contradict one another. So I mean,
what do you do about that?
Well, I think as any normal person would, you would apply it to your own, life choices and life happenings. If, say, I mean, it happens all the time. People are lost and they're, in drugs or doing this or blah blah blah, and then somebody comes along and, I don't know, hands them a church card, and they go to church, and their whole life changes. And you can say, well, that's just luck, and you met the right person. And obviously, I watched a TED talk about, even if you don't believe in God or in religion, going to church is actually really healthy for you.
Yeah,
It's all about community.
That's true, and not to mention there are certainly benefits to praying. It's
oh yeah, it's like meditation.
I remember, it's sort of like that. But I remember, let's just say, this guy that we just listened to. I listened to a book of his, like an audiobook of his, and he was talking about how prayer essentially worked, like essentially communicating with the subconscious mind.
Okay.
In essentially the fact that the subconscious mind is it is much more powerful than the conscious mind, and essentially his point of view or his idea was that by praying or asking for like wisdom or advice, you were sort of in a way asking the subconscious mind for it, and the way it responded to you was through dreams. I don't know. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's why something like, oh man, hold on. Something, give me 1 second. My phone's about to die and I want to plug it in. Like meditation with, the Tibet monks or any kind of form of that, it's so, I mean, there's a reason why they live so long, and it's not just because of what they eat and their lifestyle, but it is part of that meditation to really just disconnect your mind from, this world, and to, really reflecting within yourself, and the same thing is with prayer, but you're doing it to a God that you believe in, who's going to answer what you're really battling with unconsciously, self-consciously, and, obviously when you're reflecting on it, you're gonna try and change it, and this is considered attributed to God's power and will over you, you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
I think it's good that way. I think it's it's cool that you're able to really connect and reflect within yourself, in various ways, and it's not like you're just there praying to a God and you're like, okay, I prayed, I'm all better now, everything's okay, good, like, any good prayer and reflection is when you're really deep into it and really gathering knowledge and strength from it. It's kind of crazy in that sense. Trying to think of, like, I mean, you can just take it from there. Kind of at a loss. For what
I mean, I get what you're saying. I don't even know what to say after that. It's
Alrighty. So in other news, hockey. Okay.
Hockey, yes.
Yep. The hockey season has just ended. The in the Eastern Conference, your boys Tampa Bay
Oh.
Lightning is first seed in the playoffs.
First seed, yes.
By 1 point over the Bruins. Okay.
Over the Bruins, yeah. God, fucking hate those Bruins. You know, like those Bruins, they're always like getting on my nerves. You know, like they owe me like $20. You know, and it's been like 4 months and they still haven't paid me back. You know, fucking Bruins.
The Edmonton Oilers were complete shit this year.
Damn, son. Damn.
Accumulating 78 points.
Yeah.
And in their division, not their conference, third place. I mean, third from the bottom, with 78 points.
Oh wow.
That's
pretty damn awful.
Yeah, it's pretty damn awful. The first, we'll look at the games, first round games. We have the Wild and the Jets. They're playing each other, which is pretty cool. I think the Jets will definitely have that win over the Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, the Wild did have a really good streak going into it, but you never know. Then you have the...
Yeah, I really never know.
You have the Flyers and the Penguins. I think the Penguins definitely can handle that one over. I think it'll be a good series, but they'll definitely take it in the end. The first year for the Vegas Golden Knights,
yes.
the new franchise, is playing the LA Kings, who recently rebranded. You know, looking pretty good. I mean, they were the #1 team in the Western Conference, so with 109 points. Actually, no, I think the Nashville Predators were above them. Yeah, with 17 points, and so were the Jets.
Yes,
so
I'm paying attention. The Jets, yeah.
The Devils are playing the Lightning. I think even though the Lightning were kind of shaky at the end of the season, I think that just to really make sure that none of their players got injured for the playoffs, even though they knew they had the playoff berth. They didn't really want to get their people hurt, but they still won games with their backups.
Are you in a rocking chair right now?
No, I'm just gonna move it back and forth.
It looked like a rocking chair.
My desk chair broke. Like,
wow.
the whole back part broke, so I'm using like a fucking...
It looks like a rocking chair. Look at that.
It does.
That's...
These are old. These are like hella good chairs, though. Yeah.
Can I just say I feel really bad for Nina right now?
Yeah, I do too. Me too.
I don't know. You want to end this now?
Hold on, man. Jesus,
sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah.
The Maple Leafs and the Bruins. This is actually going to be a really good game series. The Bruins are a really good team, but the Maple Leafs...
No, they're fucking trash, dude. I hate the Bruins.
Yeah, I mean, I hate the Bruins too. But, and they're playing in the Maple Leafs, which is in Toronto.
Yeah, my home city.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
It's not.
It could be a good one, because the Maple Leafs is a pretty good team, but I'm pretty sure the Bruins will win it. Blue Jackets, Capitals. I live in Virginia. The Capitals is the closest, technically, our team. Virginia, actually, my state has 0, like, sport franchises. Like 0.
Damn.
We have the Washington Redskins, but that's located in D.C. We have the Washington Nationals, the baseball team, but that's in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, shit. Your sound cut out. Wait. Your sound's set.
Okay, cool. We have a couple, like, AA, AAA baseball teams, but, so for baseball season just started. This is a podcast podcast about everything, Jordy. Actually, well, actually, no. They're actually in first place in the American League. They're actually 9-1. Starting off the season pretty well. In baseball, on the Red Sox. Hernandez. No. No. I like the Mookie Betts. He's a really good baseball player. He's new too, but Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts. Yeah, I think it's like Mookie. Mookie. I forget. Yeah. Yeah, essentially. JD Martinez is really good too, but I mean I'm not a Red Sox fan, so I don't really give a fuck. But that's going pretty well. The baseball season just started. Most teams have played around 10 games so far, and everything's looking pretty good. No one's really getting too blown out of the water so far. I mean, you have the NL Central, which has the Pirates, Cubs, Cardinals, and Brewers and Reds, and those are all. Hello? Okay. Yeah, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. Good teams in it, but so far, that's that. So now we're going to CS:GO. No. Oh yeah, that's exactly what it was for. You piece of shit. But no, there's a pretty big tournament coming up with a lot of big teams, which would be fun. Actually, I'm gonna be making a video, like going over the tournament, who might win and stuff like that. Make a video on my channel about it. So I think it'll, I don't think it's what everybody thinks is gonna win. Like, I think, people could probably put FaZe SK up there, but I really think it's either gonna be like Astralis or Mouse Sports to really take it over, or Fnatic. Fnatic been winning a lot, but now that they have been winning a lot, teams are really going to do their homework on them. And I think a team that everyone's not really focusing on is Astralis, and they're going to fucking come into this tournament red hot and fuck shit up. They're going to fucking, oh, hello, Liquid. Let me drink you up real quick and spit you out, at the bottom of the tournament. They're gonna play Space Soldiers and ground their asses to Earth, and then they play Gambit in Group D as well. And there's definitely no Gambit with that one. They're gonna take the fucking win. Fnatic is gonna take Natus Vincier, which, oh man, what the fuck does that mean again? I think. Oh, I forget what it means. I know what it means. Either way, but they're gonna take. Okay. Cloud9 is gonna play Envious, and all I know is no one's gonna be envious over that loss. When Cloud9 plays G2, they will definitely not be in the clouds after that win. You know. But no, it'll be a really cool tournament. It's actually next week, so I'm gonna do a video on that tomorrow. It'll be real cool. So let's see. Something crazy happened. Oh yeah. Donald Trump's lawyer's office got raided in an FBI raid. Yeah. Jordy, let me ask this. Do you care that Justin Trudeau speaks English and French? Well, no, it was just funny because I was watching a video where people were like complaining that he answered a English question in French and then a French question in English. Like, they were like, what an asshole. No, it was like during his campaigning. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's probably called Your House or something. Oh, really? Oh, man. Man, I thought America was fucking filled with old white people. It's called the Senate of Canada, and the leadership, your speaker is George Furey. He's been a member since December 3rd. Okay. Now 2015. Whoa, your Senate's weird. Well, there's this thing called the ISG, the Independent Senators Group, which is literally a parliamentary group in the Senate of Canada formed on March 10th, 2016 by senators who were nominated to the Senate on the advice of prime ministers from various parties. So it's like they're not even like voted in by the people, they're like voted in by other. Okay. Okay. Oh. Okay. To vote for them. So it's kind of like our electoral college. No? Yeah. That state. Okay, yeah. This is weird, though. Okay, so I'm looking at your, like, senators and where they're from, or how many seats or whatever they have. So British Columbia has 6 senators, and population per senator is 700,075. That's per senator. Okay. Prince Edward Island has 4 senators and has 36,000 per population per senator. Okay. Yeah. Fucking tiny. But they have 4 senators. But you have British Columbia, which has the most population, has 6. And then Ontario and Quebec have 24 each. Because I know in here in the States, each state has 2 senators. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, no, 1 senator. Never mind. I'm fucking retarded. Forget what we have 2 of. Oh my god, I'm bad. Do you not vote? Oh. There's some vacancies, Jordy, if you wanna run, man. You should. Yeah, say it. Go ahead. I'll end the stream right now. Oh, so you're just saying, okay, yeah. Your part already has senators or something. Okay. Really? It's all, what is it? Don't tell me liberal, just all liberal? Really? No? You said Ontario? Oh, Quebec, okay. I'm just looking at, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Are Democrats? Okay. 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 Which makes sense. Okay. Okay. Huh. Really? Like racist against like black people or something? Or other Canadians? Well, that's not racist. Ugh. Ugh. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Well, like anywhere, really, but more so fucked up in Quebec. It makes sense. About Canada. So I just looked some of these things up. So the minister is chosen by the prime minister and appointed by the governor, or I mean, the ministers are chosen by the prime minister. But how do the prime minister get elected? You just vote specifically on him with the MPs. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it has its it has a lot more upsides, I guess, but a couple downsides. I mean, Like, yeah, I think right now the our House majority is Republican, which is pretty good, you know, obviously, and which helps, you know, Trump get his stuff through, which like I told you before, I think he's doing really good in some aspects. I mean, actually, in a lot. I mean, the main reason I think anybody and everybody voted for him, and it's so funny too, like when you really look at how he won, you know, he won the same states and the same provinces that Obama won over his win. Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, you know, and really it's all just really funny, like the whole election itself, you know. People were calling it white lash because Obama was black, but I'm like, but he was voted twice. So obviously it wasn't. Yeah, right. Yeah. So, and I'm like, and but the funny part is, you know, the reason why Trump won is because of the states he went to were, you know, he went to see, and the thing is too, when Obama campaigned, he campaigned for the little people, the, you know, to bring back businesses, create jobs, blah 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 blah. What the fuck are you doing? You're like a fucking mole. Oh my god. You're a fucking idiot. um oh man. Oh man. But you know, Obama promised all these people uh these jobs back, you know, and it's the people that worked in the factories and had, you know, those kind of jobs, you know, the steel industry in Detroit and the automobile industry, you know, that's a heavily affected black community that lost a lot of jobs when those companies left, and Trump brought them back, and those people got their jobs again, you know, and people just read what the news is telling them, but they're not really doing any information for themselves. But he's doing a lot more for black people than Obama did, you know, which is kind of pathetic considering all the shit he gets. Yeah. 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 I mean, I think, see, and that's why I like Trump too, because he doesn't give a fuck about the other countries. He cares about what's going on here in the States and fixing our problems first, you know? Well, yeah, but if we didn't go to war with Eisenhower, that we would still be in a depression. Oh, yeah. 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 Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, because, but the thing about Trump too is he's actually changing a lot of things, and you know, one of our biggest issues is our debt, and this whole new tariff thing with China and stuff. It's big, you know, but people, it's not interesting, so nobody gives a fuck, you know. People gave a fuck when, you know, he allegedly made fun of a disabled kid. I don't know, I never really cared about the story, but you know, they gave a fuck about that. But he's literally making strides to diminish our debt and bringing in these jobs, and you know, creating opportunities for a lot of people who lost them. I mean, it's fucking crazy, you know. And people still hate him. And it's real funny. Like, it's really fucking funny too when, you know, a black person tells you, you know, they hate Trump, and I was like, then obviously you don't know what the fuck he's doing, because he's literally helping, you know, the black community with a lot of things, you know. But plus, if I ask them, they don't know which amendment freed them as slaves, but you know, whatever. I've asked like 5 people that at my work, and they don't have a fucking clue. But no, yeah.